So, first up this week, we are talking about the new film by Bong Joon-ho, who's on a hot streak, having just, of course, won all the Oscars in the land for Parasite. Mickey 17 stars Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, Mark Ruffalo, and a whole host of other famous faces in a sci-fi spectacular that also talks about huge, pressing, modern-day issues like colonialism, racism, poverty, and everything else you'd expect from a Bong Joon-ho film. So, Jake, tell me, how did you feel about Mickey 17, and have you read the novel Mickey 7 on which it's based? Because I haven't, and I feel like I'd have got more out of it, perhaps, if I was aware of the source material.
No, Reuben, famously, I can't read. So, no, I can read. I have not read the book. I'm sure lots of people would say, famously, I'm a terribly slow reader. But yes, this film was really interesting because I had really no strong reaction to it. Well, the film tackles some very interesting sci-fi elements. It's about a colonial ship that's left Earth due to political discourse between the sort of sponsor, benefactor of the trip, played by Mark Ruffalo doing his best Trumpian impression. And it's about how they go through space, like all these classic colonial missions to space. It felt very Starship Troopers. It felt very satire from the get-go. It felt like every single thing was a form of satire until that third act, to be honest. Yes, it's about Robert Pattinson's character who becomes an expendable, which is just basically a printed out human that does very extreme tasks, and in a quite brutal way. In the trailers it's played for laughs, however I think in the actual film, though some are relatively humorous, it is actually played quite serious from the get-go. Now I think that's really interesting. I think, well, sci-fi has gone through a really weird period of life, of existence. I think it's thriving more on television than it is on film, and therefore these big sci-fi concepts that have to deal with morality, that are mirrors to modern society, have somewhat gone to the wayside because they cost too much money and they never make any money. However, I think because of the name recognition of Bong Joon-ho, and especially Robert Pattinson being a very hot actor at the moment, rightly so. To be honest, I very much enjoyed him in the film. He's doing this kind of ridiculous accent, but it's not too far that it becomes egregious.
Do you know who it's based on?
Who?
It's Steve-O.
Steve-O from Jackass, everyone. Really?
No, but that makes sense once you know it, because I knew it before I went in, and I spent the whole film going, oh, yeah, I see it.
Yes, okay. Well, that's quite a clever choice, really, because you're like, oh, well, a man famous for absolutely destroying his body for entertainment I sort of see it. I think Robert Pattinson's a really interesting actor, and I think I really enjoyed him in this film. And I enjoyed the sci-fi concepts. To be honest, I loved Mark Ruffalo in this film. I thought he was just ridiculous, like absolutely ridiculous. And I like Mark Ruffalo, but usually I think he gives quite a subdued performance in a lot of stuff he does. But this was not that. And to be honest, I love when an actor does something really bold and stupid, but in a good way. Like, I think it works in the context of this greater idea of the film. So I think that actually the first 2/3 of this movie really did work for me. The idea, the sci-fi conceit really works. I liked that it did remind me of niche reference o'clock here, Terrorhawks and Ted Neinstein and his ability to replenish himself via cloning. There you are, Dad. That's a reference for you. I'm always mentioning my mother, but never you, Dad. So there you are. That's one for you. So I think that the first 2 portions of it, and I generally thought it was going to go a different way, but to be honest, at the end it becomes kind of like a big Roland Emmerich type situation where, yes, it still clings to its links to more morality-based storytelling, but it does go in a bit of a grander way with everyone going a bit larger than life. Again, I think Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette's character, who play husband and wife in this, they have a very good sort of through line of where their characters go. They go from ridiculous but adored to sort of very, very sinister, dark, very dark and bleak, and just moronic and evil in its purest capitalized version of EVIL. Absolutely. So it's interesting because I came out and I was like, yeah, I think I was on the phone to someone. I said, yeah, I think it was good. I think I enjoyed it. But it just sort of, I think it doesn't really land all its punches. I think it looks pretty great, especially the practical sets and the practical sort of world that it presents. You know, Robert Pattinson looks both absolutely adorned by half the crew, yet also looks emaciated and gross and moronic. And the bits that are funny, especially in the earlier part of the film, are really quite funny. So I did really like it, but trepidatious. I think in a month I might completely forget I watched this film. So that's a very interesting place to be in, and I'd love to know, Reuben, what if you had a similar experience to me.
So it's interesting because I actually really liked it. I thought it was absolutely great. Like, I think it's a nailed on like 8 out of 10 for me. I had a lot of fun. I laughed all the way through. And I also thought, oh, this is classic Bong. He's got all of these fantastic ideas about how we can talk about stuff that is happening today in 2025, but through the lens of a big, I think, quite crowd-pleasing, although the box office figures wouldn't suggest that's the case, a big crowd-pleasing sci-fi adventure with Robert Pattinson playing multiple versions of himself. And as you say, Mark Ruffalo having the most fun anybody has perhaps ever had on a film set, playing, I would say, a sort of mashup of Trump and Elon Musk. He's got the MAGA hats, he's got the red ties, but he's also got a lot of the kind of like the Musk ideology, shall we say. So I thought he was really great in it. Actually, I have to say, Robert Pattinson, I think he's a really good leading man for this kind of film because he kind of matches its freak, like he is giving a deeply strange performance in a film that is actually also secretly very weird. It kind of looks like a glossy mainstream blockbuster and it kind of fulfills that role. But, this is Bong Joon-ho we're talking about. It's still super strange and I really liked that.
That's the thing that going into it, the trailers don't even let on how weird it gets and how just bizarre everywhere. Sort of the characters are, it's very removed from our own understanding of what social norms are, because all the characters have a sort of weird attitude to life and just how they portray themselves. They're caricatures of traits in people, I think.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think that the reason that works is because we've got it in this sci-fi setting where it's already so divorced from reality. But obviously everything is kind of playing into a broader metaphor. But I thought that really worked. It kind of reminded me of Arrival at times because it's basically about colonialism and similarly to something like Avatar as well. It's about humanity coming to a planet that isn't their own and judging themselves to be its true owners. And I thought that the film did a really good job actually with a lot of its kind of more thematic and political messaging. I think it really lands some punches, albeit still in a way that is very accessible to a mainstream audience. And I actually disagree with you about the ending. I thought the ending was really great. There's an arc with one of the Mickey duplicates, shall we say, which I found really quite moving actually, and I thought that it really worked itself into a really strong, emotional, and also, dare I say, militaristic climax that I found very satisfying. So I really like this. The thing that I find a bit strange about it is I just sort of like it. I think it's really good. I think Bong Joon-ho's done a really good job. I think Robert Pattinson, Naomi Ackie, they're really charming. They're great leads. I found it really fun, really engrossing. I didn't feel the runtime. It is, as you said, it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think. So I enjoyed it. But it's strange to me that after a film like Parasite, which is so very, very quirky and about which I could talk for hours and hours and hours about all of the different layers and different interpretations, this, I'm sort of just happy to say, yeah, it's good. You should go and see it. You'll have a good time. But I don't feel like I have to say much more than that because it is good. You will enjoy it. It has got a lot to say. But that's sort of it. Like in the oeuvre, in the filmography of Bong Joon-ho, I wonder how this will look 10 years down the line, as you say. I'm not sure it will age badly, but I don't think that anyone is going to be saying that this is his best film. And I think that's completely fine. But listen, when Parasite exists, nothing will ever beat Parasite.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, because I do think it genuinely was good, and I was enjoying it whilst I watched it. I enjoyed the ride and the world that it did create. But it sort of, I wonder what is missing. Is it something? Was it a problem that is present in the source material, or is it something that was lost in adaptation? That's what I want to do, because there is something that's sort of not there that could sort of really solidify it, and you have to think about those. Well, how did the big sci-fi moral staples succeed? And then I have to go, and then I'm always going back to like the original, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and I was like, that's a bit too far back. I'm trying to think of more recent ones, and then that's the problem. The problem comes up in that. What is the great recent successful sci-fi moral tale? And that's a big question.
I mean, it depends how you feel about Avatar, but I would say that in many ways it is Avatar.
But see, I think Avatar falls off because it is more about what people go to see Avatar for is the spectacle. But I guess that's in any sci-fi. They go for the spectacle and stay for the social commentary. But I think Avatar's social commentary could be written by a preschooler.
To sum up, basically, it's interesting because neither of us actually have that much to say about this film, other than that we broadly liked it. I think I might go and see it again, because I wonder if I'll sort of find more hidden depths to it maybe than I have this first time around. But I mean, I definitely recommend it. It's good fun.
I agree. I'd recommend it. People should go see it, if not just for Mark Ruffalo, because it is a stellar performance where you're not rolling your eyes, because it does actually go to places that is interesting. And Robert Pattinson, I love that he likes to do weird things. Yeah, it's there. The film exists. Go see it. But as you said, Reuben, the box office results aren't looking very good, which, to be honest, I understand, because as sci-fi fans, you and I are both sci-fi fans, it's sort of no one is watching still to this day, and I'm not sure what is going to be that tentpole that isn't, established like Avatar, that will do well across the foreign markets as well, just because it's more about the spectacle image than just the great moral themes. I even find it, if I do a slight tangent, that modern Star Trek goes a similar sort of way, that you had this series that deals with a lot of moral situations, and that is the core theme of the ethos of the show, and yet modern ways tries to shoe it further towards action, further to more the consumer market, and loses its charm. I think Mickey 17 does draw a good line between having fun, having some great performances and some great speeches, as you say, and also having that sort of a lot of action, but also a good moral through line. But still, it's missing some seasoning to me.
I would say it's another hit from the Bong.
Well, that was perfect. I can't beat that.